The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The webinar will begin shortly. Please remain on the line. The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, good afternoon, guys, and sorry to have a short delay. Welcome to this webinar on animation concepts, storytelling, concept development, and story design. I hope all of you are safe at home and attending a lot of online classes as well as webinar sessions. And so we'll keep it more interactive. Can you guys hear me? Just type it in the questions, right? Can you guys see my screen? Okay, all right. So this is the topic of the webinar. I'll take you through in terms of the three different subsegments: storytelling for animation, concept development, which is also about characters and environment, and the story design. Can you guys tell me which is your favorite animated movie? Just type it in the chat or the questions. Which is your favorite animated movie? All right, Coco, Onwards. Onwards is a recent one. Toy Story, Turbo. All right. So I'll take you through in terms of how do you come up with these stories. So we'll cover how you can tell your own stories, your unique perspective about these stories. How can you express from your memories your own stories, and a simple idea can be developed into a story idea as well, and how you kind of create the world and characters around your story. Okay. So before that, the first thing is that how do you tell stories? Stories were told long before. You can see on the top, on the left of your screen, these tribal kind of people. Now, some of them who used to tell stories were called shamans, Shaman, shaman. So they used to tell stories to the tribal kids or people around. Now, maybe after dinner, they used to sit. Everybody used to sit around the fireplace in the open, and the shamans used to tell stories. We've all heard stories told by our parents, our grandparents, and also now stories told by our friends amongst all of us. So we are all storytellers to be uh, kind of. Now we're all storytellers. We have our own stories to tell. So let me tell my story to you. And now this is from my own experience. I was very little in class nursery, and this is an experience which I can never forget all my life. And I wanted to share with you in terms of how this is my story, which in a very unique way I'm telling you guys. I used to be in say 3 or 4 years old, nursery standard. Uh, my dad was actually working with engineer. He was an engineer in a big company, and we are posted in a small town, which is now a big uh, kind of a city now called Durgapur in the east. So I was little. My dad uh, used to drive. We had a small group of people from the same company. Every family is living together in different row houses. So we had two matadors, which used to take us to kind of a place called Bana Chitty, or maybe we went out for picnics and all that. So there was a yellow color matador with like a van. It was an old one, and there was like a new one bought because we grew in terms of numbers as well. In terms of more families came, so we had to buy another one, which is bought by the company. Actually, it was a sea green, brand new matador. And my dad used to drive, and there was another driver from the company used to drive. He took us to the school and back, and in the evening we used to go out for picnics or kind of shopping. So I used to sit on my dad's lap and used to kind of feel like driving and all that. And you can see that my dad used to. I was little, my little hands on the steering, and used to turn around the steering wheel, and I got a knack of it in terms of what driving is all about, and the gears and all that. So even though I was little, I got a kind of an idea in terms of what my dad was doing and how it used to move. The van used to move. So on one occasion, which was Holi, we were all playing outside my house. Everybody, because everybody should live close by, we're playing outside our house, and the kids as well as the parents, and everybody having a good time. The matadors were standing outside. So we kids actually now started playing inside the van, and I myself uh, sat on the wheel because thought I knew how to drive. And the kids used to were jumping inside and outside, and now all of them are like kind of showing off in terms of gears: 1, gear 2, gear 3, 4. And suddenly I put the gear into neutral, and it was a slope. So the van started moving. So I was like, wow, now I could drive. And slowly and gradually it took up speed. And the kids start jumping out. And I could hear like people screaming in terms of like the van is moving on its own, or it's like moving. So I could sense the panic around me. I was like on the wheel. I saw some of my uncle, aunties now way ahead in terms of the slope. And there were like some people running, young, now my seniors or teenagers, boys who knew me, running right next to me. It was the van was picking up speed, and they were telling you turn the handle, you turn the handle, all that. And I was like, I'm like too tiny to turn the handle, but I tried to weave the steering on the right because there was like a nala on the right, and now before the wheel got into the nala, which was a small one, I jumped down, rolled over. One of my auntie was standing right in front of the van, saying, "If it doesn't stop, I will now kind of lie down and it'll stop. It'll roll over me, or maybe reduce speed." Like a whole entire drama happening around. The whole thing was that the van was about to now hit a dead end, which was like a cliff, a small cliff. And that's what I never realized that as a kid. I never realized that it would be so dangerous. So no, I got a big thrashing from my parents, but this was one experience when I could boast to my nephews and niece that your mamu actually drove when he was 4 years old. And then obviously he got a big thrashing, but it was like an experience. I could tell it as a story. So this is something in terms of my experience, a small experience, which which is what normally a storyteller does. It it now they come up with their own experiences and tell their own stories. So you need to actually come back, now remember what was your most embarrassing moment, most exciting moment, or most frightening moment, or time you were very surprised. All these are expressed in your memories in various ways. You have to actually capture that, write it down. Maybe you have some photographs you can express through your memories these stories. Why do you remember these memories so well? That's most important, because you're trying to connect with one or more emotions in these memories. Uh, in my case, it was joy as well as fear. So it's like a thrill and an adventure. So that's why it is a very exciting me. With experience, emotion, with write down. You can life, your own experience, and like people human as well as sensitive. You can actually take up your favorite movie, and you can ask yourself, why did you choose this movie? Okay, what was one reason that you chose this movie? And what is something which is common or different in your favorite movies? Okay, so a story starts from a simple idea. A simple idea can be anything. A simple idea can be a, a rat, like in Remy in Ratatouille. How many of you seen this movie? Have you guys seen Ratatouille? Please type yes if you guys have, so I can know that you've seen this movie. It's been on television as well. So Ratatouille, what was a Ratatouille? The simple idea of Ratatouille. The simple idea of Ratatouille was how a rat wanted to be a chef. Okay. Firstly, it's a very unique, contrasting idea. Because if a rat touches your food, you throw your food away. Now here, you have a rat who actually could smell food, who could taste food, and whose passion or dream was to become one of the best chefs in Paris. And he had somebody who he idolizes as well, the chef Gusto. Okay, so your simple idea is something which can ignite your story. Okay. Next step would be the world and the characters. Okay, in terms of what world do they live in? Okay, the environment or the set of rules in which your story will take place, the subject or the individuals we follow on the journey of your story are these characters in this. So, in the case of a movie called Wall-E, the simple idea of what if was that Wall-E was a robot who was lonely. And what if there was one last robot left on the earth? This was a simple idea from where it developed. The Toy Story simple idea was, what if the toys came to life when we humans are not around? So this is a simple idea which actually built it up into a nice, amazing story. So you can actually build up your story from different ideas or simple idea. Sometimes you think of the character first, and sometimes you think of the world or the environment or the setting. So the story is born when both the character and the world meet. So in case of Wall-E, this is this robot who is now like a cleaning robot, and he is left on Earth, the environment, the world, and that's where these two meet in terms of the story. In terms of, we must have seen Finding Nemo, or you must have seen Finding Dory, or Megamind, or Coco, or Monster Universities. Now, these are different kind of stories or animation movies where now you have characters like Dory or Nemo, and you have characters like Megamind or Remy. So now when you're trying to explore your story and the worlds, try this as well. Try that, say, a character like Dory, who loses her memory, who has a short-term memory loss, and she is actually in a different world like Coco. Uh, or Megamind is actually in a monster's world. No, so try to explore different characters in different worlds, and you'll come to understand how they can mix and come up with amazing story ideas. And guys, in terms of, you have to explore, trial and error, practice. None, it doesn't come in 1, 2, 3 efforts. It takes time to come up with a nice story idea, develop into a nice story. It takes time. You have to talk, you have to come up with your own experiences, build it up, and then talk to your friends. Now, take their ideas in terms of how your story idea is, and try to build it up. It will take some time. You might have to delete something and add something or modify something, and then only your story idea would get better and better with your practice. So you need to understand the end result is as important as the journey or the process of developing your story idea. So you learn from your mistakes, the errors that you make, and it helps you to come up with a better story. So coming to, in terms of the second aspect of our topic, which is the concept development or the character development. So you figured out a story which is like a rat who wants to become a chef, a contrasting idea, and you want to develop the character now. Okay, so the characters actually they actually come up when you know how they react in a crisis, how they behave in difficult situations. And entertaining characters are deeply flawed. Now they have these these flaws inside them, like Charlie Chaplin, and this is what audience relate to. Those feelings, emotions, and the personality. So when you developing your character, you have to look into that as well. Your characters can be a fish or a car or a toy or a robot, and they would have their own stories. They would have lessons that they learn, the challenges that they face, and the feelings that they feel. So this is what the audience will relate to in your story. Okay. So the first point is the internal and external features, okay, of a character. A simple character like a robo, Wally, or a fish, Nemo, or a girl like Merida from Brave. Okay. So from a simple character concept, you need to, character development is developing your character and adding more qualities to it. Okay. So in case of Wally, Wally is a lonely, curious robot who fears things and loves. He's alone in this world. He has a routine, and he watches a film video every day where, even though he's a robot, he wants to love. But Nemo is a young fish who craves for independence from his father. But obviously, trying to do that, he's taking a lot of risk. Merida, in terms of the Princess Merida in Brave, the young princess who wishes to pursue her own hopes and dreams rather than conform to her parents' expectations. So when you're developing your character, you need to look into two aspects: the internal features and the external features. Okay, the internal features is the inside, or the character's personality, their behavior, how they think, Are they insecure? Are they jealous? Are they brave? This is what the internal features are. So you have to, when you're working on your character development or on your character description, you need to write down what is your character. Are they insecure, brave, jealous, whatever that. The external features would be now their physical appearance, their hair, their clothes, the way they walk, the way they laugh. All that is external features. So you write it down or you draw it out. That's how you develop your character. So where do you get ideas for internal and external features? You obviously get it from characters, now your family, your siblings, your brother, sister, relatives, friends. You get references from there, something very unique. So as an animator, you need to be very observant. You need to see interesting stuff around you, kind of record it. You like somebody's laugh or somebody's walk or somebody's expression, capture it either through your drawing or through your mobile. Anyway, that's becomes your reference. That's your research. So that's what internal and external features are. This is a very important part of the character development. Okay, the next is your wants and needs. Hold on. Yeah. So if you have seen the movie Up, the main characters, the husband and the wife,